So at the moment, we work together on some days at a nonprofit where the public comes in and experiences culture and art in nature. What is it about working in that environment that intrigues you?
Well, again, it's two things that I absolutely feel are incredibly important. Nature and art, conservation and art are, again, two things that I have always supported and that are important to me, which is, again, why I feel I can be successful. I'm not talking about something that I don't support myself. You know, these things are important to me, and I just feel that the position I have now, it's such a perfect fit for me at this time in my life.
That's super. Yeah. So if you were to give any advice to younger generations, be really young kids, or like we get into the sculpture gardens, or high schoolers, or even college kids, young adults just starting out in a professional career, what are some tidbits of advice you could give them so that they get the most out of who they are and where they are, and also can move forward in a way that satisfies them?
Well, I think, obviously as you move through your career, your ideas change, your focus changes. But when you're starting out, there has to be something that really moves you, that's important to you. And you have to have passion for that. I mean, this is not news to anyone. But, the whole thing, do what you like, and you'll be good at it. So I think that's, it's just such a simple fact. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's very hard to be successful and to be satisfied.
And would you, obviously when you worked through these different organizations as director of development and special events consultants and so on, what are some of the trends that you saw that changed over the years, either because you were in an environment like an educational institution, or because of the advent of digital technology, or just changes in people's mindset because we become more global? What did you notice that was different that we need to pay attention to now?
Well, I think the donors have become much more savvy and much more, they want to be involved. It's not, I think this is a good cause, I'll just give you my money. They want to know what you're doing with that money, how you're managing it. Is it really going to what's important to me? There's a lot more involvement from the donor, from that side of it. I think in the old days, people were perfectly willing to write you a check and that was it, and they got their name on a building. Now they want to know what goes on in that building, how does it affect me, how is it important to me?
Okay. Then what about from the point of view of the organizations or institutions? Have you noticed any changes in how they, creative ways they seek donations in a world where there's so much competition for funds amongst a whole variety of nonprofits and very worthy causes, all of them?
Yeah, it's very difficult now. I mean, there are, even especially here in Palm Beach County, there are literally hundreds of nonprofits competing for everyone's attention. And, you just really need to focus on what is important to you and what's important to the donor. The whole digital process has changed everything because you know so much more about your potential donors. I mean, it's there. You can see what they've given where. There's just a lot more information, and you really need to do your homework.
It's interesting. When I lived in England, I was brought in as a facilitator amongst a whole collective group of nonprofit organizations in a large city in England. And we were discussing how can we become better cooperators, collaborators, instead of purely competitors, because everybody was competing for the same pots of money and attention in the media and so on. And the one thing that after about 6 weeks of discussion and hashing things out, one thing we found made the grease the wheels for that to happen was that each specific organization had a core function. Yes, they had tentacles that reached out into other areas that overlapped with their other colleagues, but at least they were clear about a core function. And once they all agreed to respect the core function of the respective organizations, they seemed to be able to cooperate and collaborate much more effectively. Do you see, is that something you might have experienced, or does that make sense to you?
Well, I mean, obviously there are a lot of professional organizations for all of us doing development work. And, you know, there are seminars and we talk to each other and what works for you. But it's still, you can't ignore the competitiveness. It's there. So you just have to be very, very focused on what is it about your organization that makes it different from any other, and that's going to get the attention that you want from the right donors. So you need to know about your organization, and you need to know what is important to your donors.
Interesting. Yes. So,
you know, I don't think any of this, earth-shattering news, but it's just a matter of, you know who you're trying to appeal to, know how they function, why they support what they do. It's just, there's an enormous amount of research now that goes into it.
Exactly. And I know we find there's a lot of overlap with people who, you know, they belong to a cluster of, say, cultural organizations or arts organizations or nature organizations or animal related. You know, they belong to different in-groups, that swirl and intermingle, but all add to the fabric of a local society or even a global society. But frankly, some of them have a hard time keeping the doors open and the lights on.
Yes, it's true. There are so many smaller organizations that are doing incredible work, but they're just kind of overshadowed. They don't have the resources. They don't have the staff to do the kind of serious research that we need to do to go with your audience.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Wow. So, Donna Minard, I love my chances to work with you. I mean, despite the fact that you said as a teacher, you felt like you had a hard time keeping control of the kids and so on, I find you working with you so, in a way, down to earth, and you're not into the high drama that so many people are. And you keep such a calm spirit around you that it really enhances any environment that you're a part of. And I just wanted to thank you for bringing that essence of your being to us.
Well, you're very kind to say that.
Well, it's also
now my husband's phone is ringing, just what we needed.
All right. Okay. Well, you are a woman in demand, and I thank you so much for taking time to join us here on Living Legacy Leadership. Thank you so much, Donna Minard. And, may you continue to, leave your mark and your legacy through whatever ways you choose to contribute. So thanks for that. Any final words?
I just really appreciate your confidence in me. Again, I'm still learning. This is the first arts organization that I've truly spent a lot of time exploring, and I appreciate that opportunity. And thank you very much for giving me the time to talk about it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, everybody. So thank you for being with us as well, our listeners, with Living Legacy Leadership. Thanks to our producer, Joe. And do check out GameChangerThinking.com. Maybe consider doing a legacy strategy session yourself with me. And do remember that the life you live is the legacy you leave. Bye-bye now.